In the middle of a desert, one of the most significant building projects in the world is being built. 6 of the wealthiest nations in the Middle East make up the Gulf Cooperation Council, which is building a more than 2,000-kilometer railway to improve regional connectivity. Let's take a look into the $100 billion railway in the desert. Before we move on, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and turn on the post notification on. The project's difficulties are significant, equaled only by the costs associated with overcoming them. Desert sands must be traversed and mountains must be tunneled through. The railway has the power to unify the Gulf, transform its transportation system, lower carbon emissions, and usher in a brand new period of economic growth. However, it must first get through its path's political, financial, and logistical obstacles. It's necessary to comprehend why the railway is being built in the first place before we can discuss how it's being made. Let's start in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia in February 1981. A group of political and economic leaders from Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, the United Arab Emirates, Qatar, Bahrain, and Oman came together to form the Gulf Cooperation Council, or GCC. They have all significantly profited from the sale of oil and gas. Their economy is so heavily dependent on the oil market. The GCC economy suffered as oil prices fell in the Great Recession of 2008-2009. The railway enters the picture here. The GCC approved a significant railway project in 2009 that would connect each of the 6 member states. The project would cost between $100 and $250 billion, shared among the participating nations. Colorado School of Mines professor Hussein A. Amory states, diversifying the economy of the Gulf states away from oil and gas will help them establish stronger economies. The nation's ports will be connected to manufacturing hubs, which will connect the ports to urban centers, for instance, thanks to the railroad lines. Etihad Railway, a crucial network component, is an $11 billion, 1,200-kilometer freight and passenger railway spanning the Emirates from the Gulf of Oman to the Persian Gulf. The first national rail system for the United Arab Emirates is being built in stages. The first stage, 264 kilometers from Abu Dhabi's Habshan and Shah neighborhoods to the port of Ruwais, was finished in 2016. To put it mildly, the working atmosphere is challenging. Some building sites operate at night when temperatures are closer to 30 degrees Celsius or 86 degrees Fahrenheit because it can get so hot during the day. Sand creates unstable, challenging terrain. China, Saudi Arabia, and Mauritania are just a few countries constructed in the desert that Etihad has learned from. These countries came up with solutions including converting dunes to clay over a long period, keeping an eye on the changing dunes, and building vegetation-covered barriers to block wind and sand. To help with sand issues, Etihad Rail's locomotive design has a sand filtration system and sand plow. 20 overbridges, 2 underbridges, 10 road underpasses, and 18 smaller underpass for future usage were all built by Etihad Rail in Stage 1. Additionally, the business constructed 2 factories to create the locally produced raw materials used to create the concrete railway sleepers that serve as the foundation for the rails. A sleeper is 2.6 meters long and 340 kilograms in weight. They stabilize the track and ensure that passenger trains may move smoothly at speeds of up to 200 kilometers per hour by being fastened to the main rails. But at the moment, no passengers are being carried on this inaugural trip. Instead, it transports 110 wagons worth up to 22,000 tons of powdered sulfur daily. The element is taken from the Abu Dhabi oil resources and processed for export at the port of Ruwais, where it's then used to make batteries, fertilizers, and fireworks, among other products. As of the middle of 2021, Etihad Rail had transported for the Abu Dhabi National Oil Company more than 30 million tons of granulated sulfur. According to Etihad, a single rail trip decreases carbon dioxide emissions by 70 to 80% compared to making those same trips by vehicle. It is substantial for an economy with one of the giant carbon footprints in the world. With $679 million in sulfur exports in 2019, the Emirates is the world's top exporter because of its efficiency. China, the world's largest sulfur importer and participant in Stage 2 of the initiative, received most of that sulfur. The network will be 605 kilometers in Stage 2, starting in 2020 from Guaifat on the Saudi Arabian border to Fujairah on the east coast. China State Construction Engineering Corporation and SK Engineering and Construction of South Korea were tasked with designing and building 139 kilometers of the rail line as part of a $408.4 million deal. Once finished, the network will connect the nation's vital industrial ports and commerce hubs, allowing for the yearly transportation of more than 50 million tons of cargo. There is potential for developing other natural resources such as iron ore, gold, aluminum, and silver in Saudi Arabia and the UAE. According to Professor Amory, a good railway infrastructure would help them and would help these countries access this far and exploit natural resources. Even though the Etihad rail network is expanding, the GCC rail project hasn't always gone as expected. GCC nations temporarily barred Qatar from its organization, casting doubt on its involvement in the railway project. The extension to connect the Northern Emirates is the third phase. By 2024, the second and third phases ought to be finished. Additionally, the pandemic and the rise in oil prices resulted in logistical hiccups and budget cuts for infrastructure, which pushed back the completion date by 30 years. According to Professor Amory, the vision of Gulf leaders has evolved from being a vision of ambition and occasionally unrealistic ambition to a vision of pragmatism. Etihad has not yet announced the actual opening date of the commuter railway, but when it does, it may be challenging to convince a nation that values its automobiles. Only 13% of respondents to a 2020 study by Road Safety UAE reported using public transit, while 83% of respondents depended on their automobiles. Professor Amory stated, cultural transformations take time, but technology shifts can happen rather quickly. However, the railway plays a significant role in Gulf countries' ambitions to diversify their economies and increase sustainability. A new industry has emerged. As a result, they're creating new jobs. Programs for rail studies training have been developed in Saudi Arabia and the Emirates. According to Professor Amory, the railway lines are a logical continuation of the enormous economic expansion the Gulf states have enjoyed. The Gulf economy has risen enormously over the previous 30 years or so. The Emirates may be well known for its oil wealth and opulent buildings, but Etihad Railway offers a glimpse into the long-term plan of Gulf leaders to create a more integrated and connected region. Contractor Parties. The project's stage 2 contracts were given out as packages A, B, C, and D. A joint venture between SK Engineering and Construction and China State Construction Engineering Corporation was given the contract for stage 2. The contractors handled the project's design and construction, track construction, and civil engineering. China Railway Construction Corporation was given the contract for Package B, and Gantu Transport and General Contracting was given the contract for Package C. Track construction, design-build projects, and rail infrastructure are the contractors' responsibilities. A project management consultancy contract for the Stage 2 and Stage 3 expansion of the rail network was given to Aegis. Aegis is also managing and directing the project's other contributors. Rolling stock. In July 2011, a contract for the construction and delivery of 7 heavy-haul freight locomotives was given to the U.S. company Electromotive Diesel. A contract for the design and construction of a sleeper manufacturing facility and railroad sleepers for the initial phase of the railway network was given to the Indian company PCM Strescon Overseas Ventures. The Etihad rail extends to the Saudi Arabian and Qatari borders in the west. 240 covered wagons were to be provided by China South Locomotive and Rolling Stock under a contract signed in September 2011 for the first stage of the railroad project. The trains move roughly 22,000 tons of granulated sulfur daily in the western part of Abu Dhabi. While passenger trains go at 200 kilometers per hour, freight trains can reach speeds up to 120 kilometers per hour. The large freight trains carry a variety of cargo, including cement, iron, rocks, hydrocarbons, and aluminum. Emirates Steel and Etihad Rail signed a Memorandum of Understanding or MOU in August 2011 to employ Etihad Rail as the primary steel shipment method. A railway depot was built at Mirfa, along with communication systems and bridges during the first phase of the railway network. Both Etihad Rail and Western Bainuna Group signed a collaboration agreement in August 2021. This internal road building company is situated in Abu Dhabi. It is regarded as the largest commercial contract ever closed for the second stage of the rail project. Around 4.5 million tons of Western Bainuna Group would be transported by 643 trains on the Etihad Railway network from Fujairah to the logistics center in the industrial city of Abu Dhabi and Dubai Industrial City. The alliance typically substitutes 120,000 fewer trucks on the road each year. Every train will be 1 kilometer long, 7,000 tons of capacity, and 70 wagons each train are both features of Etihad Rail. And that's all for today. What do you think about this $100 billion railway in the desert? Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and click that notification bell. See you next time.